As we continue to discuss damages incurred by Nigeria's financial services sector in the wake of the recent NSAS protests, we now cast a lens on the country's insurance sector. What role does it play in the aftermath of the so much loss? Let's very quickly bring everyone up to speed. CHIKA, MBONU, who is analyst, is right here with us in the studios, and on the field, the downtown Lagos here is Rotu Sodiri. Both of them are standing by as we now have the pleasure of the chairman of the Nigeria Insurers Association, GANIYU. MUSA is joining us on the show this morning. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about, get your thoughts. What are the immediate thoughts from the insurance sector on this wanton destruction, largely in Lagos and elsewhere in Nigeria over the past week?
Well, our immediate thoughts, first and foremost, with the families grieving, mourning the loss of loved ones. Clearly, as business people, as professionals, we can raise capital and other resources to resuscitate their businesses. Unfortunately, not so with lives. Having said that, I mean, we have seen the significant impact in terms of the loss of properties and other dislocations over the past few weeks, and clearly insurance is at the center of it as it stands.
Is the Insurers Association making assessments and considering what the claims will look like moving forward?
Obviously, that is going on across all the 55 companies that we have now. Indeed, with some of our members, as we speak now, some of the loss adjusters are already on site, visiting the loss sites, inspecting and trying to assess the extent and the level of damage. Of course, a number of our members have also been receiving notification of claims, both in respect of the damage to the properties, in respect of the burglary and the other ancillary losses as a result of the events that we have seen over the last few days.
But how much pressure do you think these damages and deliberate arson and looting will have on your members' balance sheets for the 2020 financial year?
Well, I mean, clearly insurance is built for times like this. That's essentially why people take insurance. And it was interesting actually listening to CHIKA and MBONU on the program, who is somebody I know very well, trying to dimension the impact on insurance. Yes, we expect an immediate negative impact in terms of our liquidity, in terms of our balance sheet, in terms of our cash flow. But overall, I mean, this is the whole essence of insurance. And the message really is for all the folks out there, both individuals and businesses, that have valid insurance policies that have been paid for, and all the covered events, that they can be rest assured that all the members of the NIA will indemnify them. They will provide them with the necessary payout in line with the terms of their policy. They don't have anything to fear. They don't have any worries. They should get in touch with their insurers if they're in doubt, if they have used the intermediaries such as brokers and the rest. They could get in touch with their brokers to take them through how to file their claims. For those that have not taken insurance, I mean, this is the essence, really. When things like this happen, even if we cannot stop it, our role as insurers, as underwriters, is to provide you with the peace of mind that we will come to your aid when life throws things at you, as it wants to from time to time, and at least we'll be able to provide the necessary succor to enable you to pick up the pieces, rebuild your businesses, and move on in life.
Well, in terms of some of the losses, some of these events that we've seen cannot really be classified as acts of God. Act of God. So how will it be classified by you insurers?
The thing about insurance is that we've probably thought through most of the situations that you are likely to face in terms of your daily interaction. Either it is an act of God or it's man-made. For this situation that we have at hand, we have policies to cover it. Typically, it will come under our strike, riots, or civil commotion policy. So if you have that policy as an extension to either your fire policy or your motor policy, then you are able to claim under it. Insurance is a contract, it's specific, it's detailed. So this is the time, like I said, to talk to insurers. Once you have purchased a valid insurance for which you have paid, this is the time for you to pick up your phone, talk to your insurers, talk to your brokers, talk to your intermediaries, and they will take you through the claims process. Again, like I said, if you have not, you should give very serious consideration to the need to purchase insurance. Our business is set up to be able to handle incidents of this nature, even though I should say actually that in building an underwriting model, it's very difficult to project or to accommodate a situation where you have fire and there will be no fire service to put out the fire, or there are incidents and then security agencies are unable to control. So they tend to aggravate the extent of the losses to insurers, which again is a different conversation altogether. But as far as we know, once you have a valid insurance cover, you don't have any issues to fear. Just pick up your phone and call your insurance.
Okay, just a quick one, sir. Would you mind just give us a second? Hold on, Mr. GANIYU MUSA, the chairman of the NIA and the managing director, CEO of Cornerstone Insurance PLC. We want you to please hang in on with us there on the program. We'll get back to you on this conversation. We have a couple of questions more for you. We understand it's a Monday morning and it's a pressure on executives' time period, at least trying to assess the damages, and phone calls and meetings currently are ongoing. CHIKA, MBONU, you have a quick thought very quickly on what we heard so far before we take this break?
Yeah, GANIYU, I said before that I've had opportunities to engage the insurance industry professionals. And for me, I say this as a major opportunity for them to win back the trust of the insuring public. And I hope that people can ride on this platform to advertise what you people do. As I said before, you and me know that insurance penetration in Nigeria is, depending on where you read, is less than 1%. And so this is an opportunity for you guys to build confidence that insurance works and insurance will give you peace of mind.
Definitely. Let's get a bit of get back on the field. Rotus Odiri is still standing, I'm sure. Rotus, you've changed location a little bit. Give us a bit of more sense of the picture on the ground as far as the banks and what they've lost are concerned. Rotus?
Yes, Bosun. Yeah, we've now moved further up Admiralty. We're close to the roundabouts, the Lekki-Ikoyi Link Bridge. We're close to there. We're at the Access Bank location now. So we've moved further up. You can see the extent of the damage. The glass has been broken. They've also, you can see the scaffolding that's been erected. They've also started repair work as well, just like they are at the GTB further down and also at the Polaris Bank. So again, the theme is rebuilding, but you can see the extent of the damage at the Access Bank building here, large two-story building here, also on Admiralty. They also have on-site ATMs, about 4 of them. They were all smashed in, they were destroyed, and so the rebuilding efforts continue. The rebuilding efforts continue here at the Access Bank building that is here, and it is again a continuing theme again of the number of banks that have suffered damage at this area.
Yes, Rotus, I'm sure what you see there, I'm not sure there'll be any sign of any bank workers around there. I'm sure they will all be asked to stay off right now. Well, what are you noticing at the current location where you are at the Access Bank branch?
As I'm talking to you, somebody's trying to drive in here. Chika was talking about people who are looking for ATMs. There's a customer who just tried to drive in, and security has told them that they can't get in. This place is inaccessible. So it speaks to the fact that there are a number of Nigerians that are trying to get access to cash, and they can't get access to cash. So it looks like people are driving from one bank to the next, trying to get access to cash. And as I was just talking to you, they were just turning someone away. So they have to rebuild as quickly as possible, because these are critical branches that are required for the amount of business that this area gets. And again, this is just a personification of what's going on around the country.
Okay, Rotus, you're watching Global Business Report. We'll get back to you on the field after this time out. We'll stand by, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Global Business Report. If you're just joining us, we're discussing the damages incurred by the financial services sector on the heels of the recent NSAS protests across Nigeria. The chairman of the Nigeria Insurance Association and the managing director at Cornerstone Insurance, GANIYU, MUSA, is still speaking with us. Thank you so much, sir, for having this conversation with us this morning. Let's take this further and look at the insurance sector consolidation program with the deadline of December this year. Will this latest development have any impact on this timeline for your sector?
Thank you very much, Bosin. Yes, indeed. For me, that's a short answer, really. If you recall, we're just trying to get the full grips with the impact of the COVID-19, the lockdown, the dislocations, the economic fallouts, and the impact on the ability of our members to carry through the programs for either consolidation, business combination, additional capital raise, which really disrupted, our activities. Now you layer on top of that the events of the past few weeks. It's basically worsens the situation. The good thing is that we are in constant communication with regulator who has a full understanding of the situation in the industry. So yes, we do expect that it will have an impact because again, for the past few weeks now, all the programs have had to be put on ice. Plus the fact that again, we know as a country, the federal government is working, very hard to improve the attractiveness of the country as an investment, destination. We know what's happened to, to investment flows into the country. So clearly going on, the major recapitalization program that we are going through in the industry, which by the way we welcome and we fully believe in that it will, improve the economics of the industry. But again, the timing is something that we will certainly be continuing our conversation with the regulators to take into cognizance the additional disruption that has been foisted on the industry by the events that we're just discussing.
Would you be asking for an extension from NICOM?
Yes, clearly we will be. We will be engaging, NICOM to look at all the options that could, make it more successful, both for the operators to fully comply as required, and also, mind you, the objective of the regulators and the operators in this case are not necessarily different. We have, what I would say is the congruence of objectives. Both believe in the program that is being done. So essentially, and this is not the time that obviously the regulator would want any significant disruption in the market. We've seen from the estimates provided in some quarters that the economic loss is going to run into trillions of naira, both from the public sector and also from the private sector. Yes, granted that the insured loss will be slightly less than that, but again, you still expect that to run into billions of naira. And as CHIKA said, this is a time where we have to come to the table. It's not just paying the claims, but paying the claims on a timely basis and letting people know. Obviously, it will impact, on a short-term basis at least, our cash flow, our liquidity. And I'm sure the regulator is not unaware, of that. And like I said, we will be continuing our conversations, with the regulator in that regard. And we're encouraged by, some of the feedbacks and some of the body language I was getting from Abuja.
So when do you think the central bank or NICOM should set up a special fund to support you within the sector, the banks, and insurance?
Well, I mean, if you say NICOM, maybe there are things that NICOM could do, certainly, and that's why I said that we will be continuing our engagement with NICOM. But beyond that, I think it should really be the government that should step up to the plate. Like I said, when you build your underwriting model, and you do your pricing and you set your terms and the rest, it's with the understanding that certain things will be in place. You wouldn't expect in your model that complete buildings will burn down without the intervention of fire services, which is controlled by the state at the moment. You also will not believe that, typically burglary claims are within some limited magnitude. You wouldn't expect the sort of large-scale, wholesale situations that we have now, and will go for as long as it did without also some apparatus of state coming in to intervene. So all those things have implications for the insurance industry. And like we've all noted, as CHIKA mentioned, at the end of the day, all those losses are going to be packed into the insurance industry. Yes, like I stated earlier, that is our job. That is our business model. That's what we're set up, to do. But at the same time, we also need the conditions to be conducive, to be created by, the necessary, government agencies to make that job easier. Otherwise, eventually, it's just going to come down to the same consumers that we're all trying to, to protect. Because obviously, our balance sheet will need to be reconstituted. That will lead to increase in prices. And at a time when we're all working together to improve the financial inclusion and ensure that we achieve the financial inclusion objectives as set for us by the government, we will need all the assistance that we can get from the government, especially when dealing with an unprecedented events such as what we're faced with now.
Mr. MUSA, a final one. You spoke about risk adjusters earlier. What about reinsurance?
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, for us as underwriters, again, when I speak for insurers, I also speak for the insurers in the market. They're an integral part of the the insurance ecosystem, and is a major part of our own risk management infrastructure. Obviously, a lot of the claims will end up on the laps of the reinsurers after the underwriters have taken their own retention. So whatever comments I make for all practical purposes will also apply to reinsurers, because we're all players in the same industry.
GANIYU MUSA, the chairman of Nigeria Insurers Association, thank you so much for your time today. Also the chairman and CEO at Cornerstone Insurance. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Let's continue the conversation and get back on the streets with Rotus Odiri, who is joining us back from yet another location, still on the spot assessment and counting the cost, in particular for the banking industry this Monday morning. Rotus.
Yes, Bosun, a very great conversation you just had there as far as insurance is concerned. We are now at UBA, and there's some good news here. This UBA branch, also on Admiralty, was also hit by the vandals. But their construction work has moved rapidly enough to where, as you can see, the number of cars here, they're allowing customers back in. So they're still fixing their ATM, but you can see the cars that are here. There are a number of vehicles that are here now, and you can see customers are back in this particular UBA branch. But you can see there, they are still repairing the ATM damage that this branch suffered. So it was pretty bad, but they are repairing it. So still no access to cash at this particular ATM. However, you can go into this particular UBA branch to complete whatever it is that customers want to do. So it's a little bit of a better story here at this branch, but they are still continuing the same rebuilding efforts that we saw at GTB, Polaris Bank, and also at Access Bank that we just looked at a few minutes ago. So rebuilding efforts continue at UBA, but at least here, customers are starting to go back into the branch.
I know you're looking at those ATM machines, ATMs, and the other facilities of the banks. What does that tell you about the mindset of these criminal elements, those who are visiting whatever anger, upset, whatever, on these banking institutions? You have on-the-spot assessment.
Yeah, so essentially, we talked about this on the morning show with Dr. Abati, Tundu, and Rufai. As far as the mindset is concerned, Dr. Abati talked about them uprooting certain ATMs in certain locations. I think it's a mixture of poverty, it's a mixture of anger, it's a mixture of a destructive attitude, a hungry desire to get access to money. Maybe some of them thought that by damaging some of these ATMs or breaking into some of these banks, they may be able to get access to cash. But that's not the case. Unfortunately, this has been it's been destruction to property. Unfortunately, is what we've seen. But as far as the mindset, I think it's a mixture of poverty. It's a mixture of a desperate desire to get access to cash.
Okay, hanging in there, Rotus will be back with you in the field within the remainder part of the show. Rotus Odiri, our Rice Business correspondent on the street, bringing us up to speed the morning after the curfew has been readjusted here in Nigeria's economic and financial capital, and how the banks are waking up very quickly and hitting the ground. Joining me to still continue the conversation, Analyst business analyst CHIKA MBONU. I'm sure you're not disappointed that the banks would have had the weekend and all of that to move on, repair workers in very quickly this morning, hitting the ground, the rebuilding that we're talking about. So that brings us to the question of the role of banks in the entire financial system, in the economic intermediation, financial intermediation, in ensuring there is wealth creation, in ensuring that everybody gets something out of the country, as it were.
You know, at the time, the red flag was on the banks in Nigeria because it was seen as the greater society was struggling, where banks were declaring super profits, supernormal profits. And so even at a time when the economy was in recession, banks were like, pushing out big profits. But, with that image, has been watered down subsequently. Because if you go through the annual report of most banks now and look through their social responsibility columns, you find the amount of money they push out to the society. A lot of them have been involved in, pushing out, doing things for the society in different ways.
Yeah, their contributions to this COVID-19.
I wasn't even going to come to that. Apart from the fact that they're one of the highest employers of labor in the country.
And one of the best paying.
And the best paying. And also the value chain. The providers of service for the banking industry are many. Whether it's the ATMs that have been spoiled now, they're going to buy new ATMs.
The artisans,
the
painters,
the drivers, the workers. So many people provide services to the banking industry. You also do recall that recognizing the limitations of the government revenue shortfalls, the banking industry led the COVID, and that raised so much money to build, isolation centers, and then, also provided palliatives, which now and because the banking industry didn't have the platform to move these palliatives around the country.
And one of the banks is even putting about 50 billion on the table.
They had to ride on the infrastructure estates to push out these palliatives. But we're seeing what is happening now to those palliatives.
But again, don't let us forget that the central bank sat down with the banks and asked them to readjust the debts owed by customers and negotiate on a one-on-one basis. And this is hundreds of billions, if not trillions of naira that's been pushed forward. So with this to happen to the banks...
I also want to push out there. One of the major challenges, or one of the major issues, or if somebody wanted to put a yellow card to the banks, that's been the support for the SMEs. That's a lot of people have said that it's not so easy for people to walk into the banking industry and get loans, credits. But the banks also recognize that, and down the line, a lot of them started pushing out retail credits. So individuals could actually, on their phone, get money from the banks, and that was working. And then some of the banks now, I think one of the banks has pushed out 50 billion naira. Access Bank.
Interest-free.
Interest-free loan. Access Bank has pushed that. I'm sure that a lot of banks are going to, follow that. I have a feeling also that this is a frontier change for the banks. This has happened now. A lot of banks are also going to go in and say, how much more, how else can we support the society? And ride on the back of the kind of thing Access Bank has done to push out money, create employment for people, and then create more wealth for the nation.
Do you think the central bank should be having a meeting with the Bankers Committee anytime soon?
Yeah, I believe so, because of the fact that, remember I told you that central bank sent out a framework for the banks to complete, over the weekend to dimension their losses. I have a feeling that that will be discussed in the next Bankers Committee. In addition to the implicit message in these riots, and what can we learn from the riots, and how can we help to make sure that they don't happen again, so that, as Ruth said, so that level of anger and level of poverty is reduced, so that when people see bank buildings, the glittering bank buildings, they're not tempted to throw stones on it and see the banks as part of their enemies of society.
Rather than partners.
Rather than partners.
CHIKA MBONU, thank you so much. Arise Business Analyst.